Welcome to the series known as Second Saturdays, sponsored by the Charles County Arts Alliance. In this series, we highlight artists from the Charles County area from diverse backgrounds working in various fields. Hear about what inspires them, career advice, and recent projects that impact our community for the better. This month, Donald Ely.
I'm Donald Ely. I'm an art director, illustrator, graphic designer, textile designer, and now a muralist. I live in Bryantown, Maryland with my wife and two sons. My wife is a teacher at La Plata High School. She's a music teacher. And I have a 2-year-old and a 12-year-old.
How long have you lived in Southern Maryland?
I've lived in Maryland my whole life. I attended Milton Summers Middle School and La Plata High School, and eventually I went to college at the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore. After graduating college, I moved back to Southern Maryland.
Okay. And what was your first position, your first job out of college?
My first job out of college was at Borders Bookstore. I could not find a job right away. I went to college, majored in illustration, and thinking that as soon as I graduated college, I would immediately start getting all of these illustration contracts, working with every magazine that I wanted to work with and every publication. But it didn't happen that way, and I have found it really hard to get work right away. And so I started working at a bookstore. When I started working at Borders, what ended up happening was staff members were essentially allowed to use the bookstore as a library. And so during my lunch breaks, I would go over to the magazine section, periodical section, and I would take a stack of magazines back to the break room. I'd flip through them, write down the names of all the art directors that I wanted to work with, and would just come up with a list literally every single day. And then I just started casually reaching out to art directors saying, hey, would you like to collaborate, or would you like to illustrate, would you like to use me as an illustrator for your publication? And eventually 2 publications bit. And one of them was the city paper in Baltimore, and one was the feminist publication Bitch magazine. They both reached out to me simultaneously, and I got my first 2 illustration jobs from essentially doing my research during my Borders lunch breaks.
Why did you decide to move back to the area from Baltimore?
My wife and I decided that it was going to be between the 2 of us. In terms of if we're going to stay in Baltimore or move back to Southern Maryland. We both applied for jobs simultaneously. I applied for a graphic design position at Black & Decker, which was based out of Towson, and my wife applied for the music teacher job at La Plata High School, and we told each other, whoever gets a call back first, that's where we'll stay. So, of course, La Plata High School called my wife right away and wanted her to go back there, and she wanted to go back to La Plata, which is obviously where we graduated from. She loved that classroom, she loved the environment there and the culture at La Plata. And so we basically packed our bags up and came to Charles County. And then of course after we moved down here, I got a call back to Black & Decker, but it didn't work out because we were already moving towards living in Charles County again. I started looking for jobs in the DC area, and that's where I found a job opening for Powell Tate Weber Shandwick, which was mostly public relations, but communications based. And again, that art director took a chance on me because in my portfolio all I had were classified ads from city paper and some of my own personal work, and this was for a major company that has offices all around the globe and that works with major clients. And I think she saw something in my work or maybe in my personality even, I don't know, that made her decide to take a chance on me. And then I grew even more in that position, learning about design outside of a classified ad, which is very tiny usually, working on much larger projects. She threw me into a brochure design right away, and I'd never designed a brochure before, and here I am at this job, this very high profile job in my opinion, and I just had to like fake my way through it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I know how to lay out text in that way.
What are the benefits as a graphic designer living in a smaller community and working in a larger city?
So I think for me, the primary benefit is that I get a little bit of that city flavor without having to fully commit to living in an area like that, particularly because DC is very expensive, and living in Charles County, is more affordable. And the other great thing is that because my wife is working at La Plata High School, it allows one of us to commute and one of us to essentially be right next door to our job.
What does the art director for ASCD do?
ASCD. As art director, I lead a team of designers, probably about 6 to 8 designers, it just depends. We have a few contractors that we work with full time, and I basically guide the visual direction of ASCD, and that's through book covers, through conferences, through our website, through our emails, through our marketing campaigns.
In addition to being an art director full-time, I know you do a lot of freelance work. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and your motivations there, your inspirations there, and what moved you to look for opportunities outside of your full-time job?
Yeah, so one thing about me is that I'm just very ambitious. I always have been. And so in addition to keeping a full-time job, there's still a need in me to create outside of work. And so there's always been this need in me to search for work or to create my own work. And early on in my career, I was just really inspired by musicians and by the people that I listened to all the time in terms of music. And one of my favorite artists to this day is Erykah Badu. And I knew at one point, I knew early on in my career, if I could just somehow like reach out to her and get her to notice my work, that we would become connected in some way or be able to work together. And it was just a gut feeling that I had, and I knew that she frequently participated in a message board on okplayer.com's website. And so with that in mind, I went to the message board, posted an illustration a portrait that I'd done of her, and with the hopes that she would see the post and somehow miraculously find out my contact information and reach out to me. And she did. And it was one of the best feelings I've ever had in terms of like validation. It was a great way to reassure me that I was going in the right direction in terms of where I wanted to go creatively. And when she reached out to me, she kind of gave me this confidence boost that I needed, because as I said before, I couldn't find work right away when I got out of college, and I was almost to the point where I was like, I'm gonna stop looking for freelance opportunities because everything that I'm doing, nobody's biting. And she saw something in me, and you can see this is like a theme in my whole career. It's like somebody saw something in me that maybe I was hoping they'd see, but I wasn't 100% confident that they would. And she saw something in my art. She called me, she sent me a text in the middle of the night, and I looked over and I saw that it was her, and I couldn't go back to bed. This was at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was so excited. By like the time 9 o'clock rolled around, I was supposed to be at work. I'm calling all my friends. I'm like, do you think this is real? Should I call her back? What's going on here? And everybody's like, yes, call her back, but you need some time to calm down. So wait till your lunch break. Anyway, so I eventually called her and had a really nice long conversation with her, about an hour long. You could hear kids playing in the background. At the time they were kids, now they're almost adults, or one of them is an adult. And she basically told me, hey, we're connected for life. So we're connected for life through our art. And she said my word is bond. And she was 100% right. Just last year, she used some of my art for a pack of incense that she was selling. From there, I continued to work with other musicians, and to this day, I'm still working with some musicians. One of my favorite musicians is TT the artist. I went to Micah with her, and she is doing really big things right now. She just directed a YouTube documentary on Alicia Keys. She currently has a Netflix documentary she currently has a documentary on Netflix called Dark City Beneath the Beat. Documentary was her passion project. She worked on it for about 10 years. She reached out to me to work on the film art, the poster art for it, which eventually ended up being used for also the soundtrack cover.
What are two other projects in addition to your work with Erykah Badu and the work with your friend from Micah that you're really proud of, that you really loved the process in creating?
So one of my ongoing projects is working with the DC Funk Parade, based out of the U Street corridor. I've been working with them since they started the Funk Parade about 7-8 years ago. Every year I work as art director, designer, and illustrator for their marketing materials, and I love it. I love funk music. It's always been a big passion of mine. I like DC's connection to funk music, and what I really love about working with them is that they're very community focused and involving all of the local businesses in the U Street corridor, involving local schools to come out and march, local musicians to play, different restaurants during the parade. And recently they've been focusing on a lot of the muralists in the U Street corridor, and that's been part of the Funk Parade celebrations. What they'll do is basically do a mural walk around town, and a guided mural walk, and the guide will talk about the artist, we'll talk about the mural, the inspiration for the mural, how it came to be. And I love the organization. I love the original founders. I love the current people who are leading it. Everybody's just super cool, and it's great to have something like that, and locally. And I do consider DC to be a local area. So.
Yep. So tell me about one additional opportunity that you're currently working on that you're really proud of and excited about.
So I currently serve on the advisory board for a creative nonprofit called the Creative Nomads. They're based out of Baltimore, but they do a lot of work in the DMV area. And their goal is essentially to make art accessible to everyone. And in addition to that, their purpose is to help elevate professional artists that sometimes don't have the network to do that, and don't have necessarily that community of other artists that sometimes a lot of artists rely on. As a designer and as somebody who's working on a mural, I need the help and the assistance of other artists to help get the word out. So whether that's a videographer, whether that's a producer, whether that's an art director or something, it helps to have a network like that, and that's the second side of what Creative Nomads does. And I'm super excited about it. We're working on getting an artist residency in Baltimore, hopefully within the next year or so, which will allow artists to come in, create music, and get the community involved. I'm super excited about all of it.
How do you think an organization like that would have helped you when you first came out of school, when you were looking for jobs?
Without a doubt, having an organization like that for me to go to would have been great, because as somebody who's graduating college, you might not necessarily have those connections right away, and being able to have a place like Creative Nomads to go to network within would have been super helpful.
What advice would you give school-aged children and teens considering a career in design or illustration, graphic design? What would you say to them? I mean, you went to La Plata High School, so you are well aware of the art department. You know the opportunities locally in the area and the benefits of living near Baltimore and DC. So what advice would you give them if they're looking to develop that?
I think if I were to give advice to any sort of young creative or aspiring creative, it would be to not pigeonhole yourself. You might have in mind that you want to be an illustrator one day, but you never know what kind of opportunities might come as you expand your horizons. For me, I was hyper-focused on becoming an illustrator. I went to school for illustration, then realized when I got to school, there were so many more opportunities. And so what I would say is to really just expand your creative thinking. Think beyond what you're kind of focused on right now, because a lot of younger kids, adults, they don't know what kind of opportunities are out there all the time, and they'll say, you're a good artist, you should animate. That's what I heard my whole life. And so I thought growing up I needed to become an animator. I had no idea there were other opportunities out there. And so part of that is work on trying new things, work on experimenting with new materials. Look at art outside of what you think art is. Art can be so many things. It can be dance, it can be, like I said, illustration. You could be a painter, you could be a culinary artist. It's don't sort of limit your thinking in terms of what it is to be a creative, and look for opportunities locally and within the metro area. If you're thinking about, if you're a Maryland person, but look for opportunities locally. Maybe there's a ceramics workshop somewhere close by, or maybe there's a screen printing workshop.
How did you get the opportunity to do the mural here in La Plata?
So the opportunity to work on the La Plata mural, which is what I'm calling it for right now, but we should say the Live Small, Love Big La Plata mural, came through an RFP that the town put out. RFP is a request for proposals. Essentially, they wanted to see a proof of concept, and I found out about the RFP because a lot of friends were tagging me in it on social media, and I was like, yeah, a mural. I've done a couple indoor murals and enjoyed the process, but the idea of doing an exterior mural, a public mural, really excited me, especially in the town that I grew up in. And then I saw it was for a wall that I've always wanted to paint, and I applied for it just crossed my fingers, but then kind of like forced myself to stop thinking about it, and then I got the call back saying that I was selected to work on the mural.
Donald, when you applied or when you submitted to the RFP for the mural, how did your concept align with their objective, and how did you come up with your concept?
Part of the RFP requirements were that they wanted to see a mural that embodied the spirit of La Plata. That was one requirement. The second requirement is that it's interactive in some way. And what they mean by that is, like, how can the community interact with your mural? And in 2021, murals are a popular selfie spot. So I thought, going into this mural, I want to create something that is exciting, that's vibrant, that's colorful and Instagram worthy, while also having a little bit of a message behind it and embodying the spirit of La Plata. Having lived here for the past 6 years of my life, and walking around the community with my wife and sons, I knew what it was that I liked about La Plata, and I wanted to put that in there because I was sure that if I thought that other people probably felt the same way. And so what I started doing was walking around La Plata with intention, and not just doing it at the end of my day, but walking around with intention and being like, well, what are some landmarks that I can pull from the town that I feel that embody that spirit of La Plata, that embody our history, that embody that small town vibe, but not the small town mindset. And so I started thinking about, I really love that we have a farmer's market here. I love that we have an ice cream shop, but not just an ice cream shop, but a black-owned ice cream shop right down the street. I like that we have a town bird now. It's called the purple martin. I love the purple martin. And ever since learning about it, I want a purple martin bird feeder in my house. So, what else did I like? I like that the town hall gives free concerts during the summer. That's their summer concert series. All of this was just stuff that I felt should be included in the mural in some way. But then, in addition to that, there's something in me that says I can't just do something where that's just a bunch of symbols, a bunch of historical symbols. I need to put some of my own heart into that. And that's where the Live Small, Love Big tag came from, which my wife actually helped me write. I kind of told her what I wanted to get out of the mural, and I said, I want to say love big, maybe, or big love, but big love, maybe you might think of the HBO show. So, and so she just like in an instant said, oh, live small, love big. And then I said, and let's add La Plata. Like, I sound like I'm on Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. And let's make them yellow. I'm talking about the Post-its. But and so then I started thinking of like imagery. Well, what are some other like types of imagery that I can sprinkle in with these historical images? And one thing, something that I think is really important with public art is that your audience is going to connect to it in some way, no matter who you are, whether no matter what your background is, no matter what age you are. And having young children right now, obviously, I've went with very simplistic symbols. I want kids when they're walking around the town to say, "Oh, let's go see the mural with the rainbow," or "Let's go see the mural with the dog." I put symbols on here that kids can recognize on a surface level. Oh, look, there's a dog and it's black, and oh, look, there's some ice cream and a rainbow. But that adults would see on a more like higher conceptual level.
Describe your creative process in developing the mural, how you considered what was there previously to what is there today.
So the original intention for the Hospice mural was that it was going to be a fundraiser for Hospice. And the approach to that mural was that a donor would essentially donate money, and with that money, in donating that money, they would get a space on the wall to dedicate to a loved one that they had lost or someone that was under hospice care. So it was really important for me that I got buy-in from the people that had pieces on the wall beforehand. And someone who really helped me with that was Shannon Wang. She's the head of the People Played a Beautiful group, and she also owns Shop 53 Tattoo Shop and La Plata. She reached out to everybody that was on the books for having paid for a piece on that previous mural. Told them, what the intention was with the new mural, and eventually shared with them my final concept for the mural, so that they could have a little bit of peace of mind that like what they had there before wasn't completely going away in essence.
Okay.
And for me, I added pink carnations to the mural because they mean I will love you forever, or I will always remember you. And it just depends on which interpretation you're reading. And I felt like that was a good visual way to show them. They're right here. In addition to that, we came up with some language at the bottom of the mural that says, in memory of those we've lost, with big love comes great loss. And of course, the big love refers back to the love big, the new part of the mural that's up here.
What are you hoping viewers draw and take away from the work?
I want what I really want, and what is starting to happen actually, is that I want the community to feel a sense of pride in this artwork that now no longer belongs to me, it belongs to the community. And what I'm finding is that even as I was working on it, the community has been coming up to me and been thankful. Everybody's thanking me for creating this mural in La Plata. Not that La Plata doesn't already have another mural, and we do. It's on the other side of Island Music, again, done by Shannon Wang. But they thanked me because they felt like we needed something bright and inspiring. Right now we're living in challenging times, and people are looking everywhere for symbols of hope. And I think that they're seeing that in this mural. So many people came by and they would look at the mural and they'd be like, love big, yes, I love that. And I'm like, yes, great. That's the intention. I'm glad they're getting what I wanted them to get out of it. Or they're seeing the hands here and they're like, is that a peace laurel? Like between a black and a white hand? I love that. I think that, I think that my goal in inspiring the community is already happening, and I hope it continues to happen as La Plata expands its horizons in terms of public art in the community in Charles County.
You have lived in Charles County for roughly 20 years, on and off. let's say middle school till now, certainly you've broken for college and other opportunities, but still connection to Charles County for at least 20 years at this point.
Sure.
What does it mean to have a piece of your art on the side of a building that people are driving by hundreds of times a day in a community that you are so connected with, that your family is so connected with? As an artist, how does that feel?
I do think a lot about, well, what am I going to leave behind? What is my legacy? As corny as that sounds, what is my legacy going to be when I leave? What do I want my kids to know about me or to remember about me when I leave? And actually, a lot of what has inspired this sort of thinking is that I lost my dad about 6 years ago, and when I lost him, what happened was I just realized that life isn't guaranteed. Yeah, life isn't guaranteed, and because of that, I felt like again, and going back to my advice to younger artists, I felt like I shouldn't stay doing the things that I'm doing if it stresses me out or if it doesn't make me happy. And I've been feeling this overwhelming sense of like needing to give back to the community that I live in, the community as, you know, globally or even like semi-locally or nationally. Like what can I do to like make my work have more purpose? You know, there's like vanity projects that I want to do, but it's like that's not only going to serve me. You know what I mean? What are ways that I can start giving back to the community or helping the community? And that's why I'm working at a place called Creative Nomads. That's why I work at ASCD, which has a purpose in education, and that's why I'm now becoming a public artist and giving back to my community in that way, in a way that really sort of highlights my talents, and I can use my talent for good.
So the mission of the Charles County Arts Alliance is to stimulate, promote, encourage, and provide recognition of the arts and creative spirit. How does this mural fit into that?
The main objective for this mural was to embody the spirit of La Plata, and I think that this mural does that. And I found that it does that through working on it and through being present while the community is present. And, you know, I hope it inspires other aspiring young artists. I hope it inspires the community to come out, to interact with it, to take their photos with it, to share those photos with their friends and family and the ones that they love, and maybe even incorporate the art in their house in some way. Take that home with them and take the spirit of the mural home with them. And yeah.
Wonderful. If I want to go look at more of your art, more of your portfolio, where would I go?
Yes. So you can go to my website, 3 Ring Studio. That's the number 3 Ring Studio, sort of like a 3-ring circus. Or that's my website, and you can go to my Instagram, which is where I post most frequently, which is at 3 spelled out _ring_studio. That's also on the mural. So if you're in the town of La Plata and you can't remember, you can check the mural and make sure to hashtag it, Keep La Plata Beautiful.
So tell me a little bit, and this will be our last question. Tell me a little bit about 3 Ring Studio.
So 3 Ring Studio is essentially Donald Ely currently, but it's me and my network of creatives that I work with. And essentially, like, that came about because I needed to promote my work beyond just Donald Ely, like, because I do more than just what this individual knows Donald Ely does or what this individual knows Donald Ely does. And I've always been inspired by the graphic side of the circus, not necessarily the inhumane side, but as you know, as I think the circus always had great promotional materials, but and so visually you'll see a lot of the circus inspiration in my work. You'll see primary colors like red, blue, and yellow. You'll see and black. You will see, and you'll just see like graphic, bold letters and patterns and color. But the reason why I named my business 3 Ring Studio is because in a 3-ring circus you have 3 individual things going on, sometimes at the same time, sometimes independent of each other. And that's how I see myself as a creative. I see myself as not just an illustrator or a designer or an art director or a textile designer. I see myself as all of those. I see myself as one of those, or some combination of them. And that's where Three Ring Studio comes from.
Wonderful.